welcome back. I'm Una. I do project planning and other related content. Today I thought I'd share some things I've learned over the past couple of years, project planning, some like tips, encouragement, that kind of thing. So if you're interested, I hope you'll keep watching. I just thought it would be fun. I watched Jessica Lee's video, which she's been panning for like way longer, and she's like a superstar, so like she has really good tips. But I just thought it would be fun to reflect a little bit. I started project planning in January of 2020, so it's been almost 3 years, which is really wild actually. Yeah, and I wrote down a rough list of a couple of things, but I don't know, we'll just see how this video goes. Yeah, so I started project planning in January, and I actually came to it for a very strange reason. I think a lot of people get into it because they find it online and they're like, oh wow, you know, I really like this relationship with, you know, consumerism, or they're feeling really overwhelmed by their collection, so they seek something out like that. I actually stumbled across it on Instagram right after my pet bird died, and I was really upset, and something about like images of panned makeup was really mesmerizing to me, and it helped me kind of keep my mind off of my bird. So I got really into following panning accounts and just like looking at people using up their makeup. So I know that's like really unusual, but that's why I got into panning, and then I was like, I should do this. This sounds really fun. And yeah, so I did. So I think my relationship with it is a little bit different in that I wasn't trying to downsize my collection. My collection actually grew a lot that year, mostly just because I was getting into makeup stuff again, and I think that always kind of changes my relationship with it. But yeah, that's why I started. That's where I started. And that brings me to like my first tip, which I think is start small and just kind of play around. So I started with a project that was like 8 by April or something, just like a couple of months, 8 items. And from there I just kind of joined a couple of things. I joined a Animal Crossing themed project pan. What else did I do? I tried to do pan those eyeshadows once. It didn't really work out. I tried to do it another time. It didn't really work out. I joined a lot of projects that I didn't end up finishing, and on the one hand that's a little bit silly or like disappointing, but on the other hand I think it's like totally fine. Like not everything's gonna work for you. How you wear your makeup changes so much from person to person, and also just over time. Like I went through periods of not wearing very much makeup at all to wearing lots and lots of makeup multiple times a day, and right now I've kind of gotten to a pretty steady place just because of the current habits and rhythms I'm in. But it's fine to let it change. Like let yourself just like start projects and not know if you're gonna like them or if you're gonna finish them. Start small. You know, like I think it can be fun to push some really big goals. You know, when you get into it you're super excited about using things up, but I hit barely any of the goals in that original project. A lot of the products I wanted to finish or like make a big dent in, I didn't really get anything done, and that's okay. And I think like that's just kind of an important thing to have that grace for yourself in all parts of life. But I think panning is one place where it can just be really like concrete and very like easy to understand. Like it would be silly to beat yourself up about makeup. It's just makeup, literally nobody cares, you know? So I think it's a great place to practice that. The next thing that kind of relates to that is that there are so many different ways to engage in panning and to engage in, you know, mindful consumerism, I guess, or intentional consuming of things. So whether that means for you really need to hit visible goals and you're just going to keep working on things until you hit those goals, or if that means you want to try to start tracking every use all the time. I've kind of gotten into that just this past year of tracking uses really heavily, and I think it can be really fun if that's what works for you. But other people, that can be super overwhelming. I know Sarah Rose just did a whole bunch of videos kind of talking about, especially she moved like across the country and kind of like letting go a little bit of panning and letting it be a little bit more fluid and feeling like it was impeding her creativity. I don't feel like panning impedes my creativity. I think it encourages my creativity, so this is what works for me. I really love tracking uses. I feel like I've learned that I'm someone who does not have a good sense of how often I'm using things or how much I've used them at all. Like I did a video of things I think I've used 100 times earlier this year, and I was just like, I don't know, maybe I used this 100 times. I have no clue. So yeah, if that's something that interests you, try it out. But if it stresses you out, just let it go. Or I think some people really enjoy like focusing on products, using them all the way up, and then focusing on new products. Like I know a beauty guru made me do it, Paula. She loves doing that. That's like just her whole thing. She has all these projects, she picks products, she focuses on them, and then when she uses it up, she uses another project. But for a lot of people, especially if you have a big collection, that's really unsatisfying. You know, you get hyper focused on those products, you feel like you're not using anything else, you feel like you're just letting stuff go bad. And so like if something more like a shop your stash type of project or like a seasonal project, I know Alejandra Lisette did that, at least in the past. She would do like a different project every quarter so that she could change out what she was using, both because she felt like she used different products seasonally, but also because she didn't want to let things go completely untouched for like a whole year. So like just play around, just figure it out, no stress. Again, you know, have grace with yourself, but different things work for everybody, and you might want to change up your approach. Like I started with pretty much shorter products. This is the other thing that happens so often in project planning. Project and product have no business being that similar to each other when they mean entirely different things, and they probably are connected. I should look at the etymology actually. I'm a linguistics major, so that stuff's fascinating to me. But anyway, I started off with smaller, shorter projects, and I think that was really fun, but it also kind of let me get a little bit unmoored if I was like in between projects or trying to figure out what to start. And this year I did mostly year-long projects, and that was actually really great. It has been great. I've been doing rolling project pan, deck of panning, and pan those eyeshadows all year long, and those have been wonderful for me. I've been the most successful I've ever been panning this year, but I also think that I'm getting a little bit bored of it, and so I think I'm gonna try some shorter projects again next year, or just like more loose projects. And like I think that's great. It might not work out for me, but I just think always be trying new things and figuring out what works for you, and checking in on how things are going and letting yourself kind of change if it's not what you want it to be. Another thing I would say is I think project planning is a great place to find things that challenge you in a constructive way. So like I said, sometimes when you get into it at the beginning, you set really high goals and then you don't really get anything done, and that can be a little bit demoralizing. But I think finding out where you are successful, where you can be successful, and really pushing yourself can be really cool. I put a lipstick in a project earlier this year for my graveyard project, and I put it in and I was like, my goal is to finish this, but I don't think I'm gonna finish it. Like I'm just putting it as that goal, but I don't think I'm gonna finish it. And I finished it like 3 days after the project ended. So I didn't quite do it in 6 months, but I did it so quickly. And that's like the first lipstick I've ever finished, and I was like, wow, I can do that. I can pan a whole lipstick. I had no idea that I could do that. And so I think it's important to, within your rhythm of things, figure out what things are gonna challenge you and try them. I've done a lot of that with panning eyeshadows earlier throughout the year. For pan those eyeshadows, it's completely randomized, at least the way I do it. And sometimes you get like a bright blue or a bright orange, and you're like, oh, I don't really like orange, you know? I rolled a bright orange into my pan those eyeshadows, and I was like, oh no, it's orange. I don't like orange. And I used it so much, and I got this huge dip in it, and I was like, wait a second. Who is this? Like, what is going on? This is so cool. I'm making so much progress. And like a couple months later, I pulled it out again for fall, and I hit pan in it, and now I have a pan in a bright orange, and I'm like, who? What? This is so not what I thought I would do with this. You know, this is not the environment I thought it would be. Right now, I'm wearing like half blue eyeshadow because I've had to get used to wearing blue eyeshadow, and now I've figured out ways that I really love it, and that's really cool. I think that's my favorite part of project panning. I've talked about this a lot actually in terms of ceramics, but I feel like I used to think I wasn't a creative person, and I think a lot of that is because I don't flourish creatively in an unrestricted environment. I flourish creatively in a very restricted environment where you have to figure out how to make things work. So I took a ceramics class last year, and one of the things you could design your own final project, and mine was basically I made rules that each of my pieces had to follow, because I knew that if I had to follow those rules, I would end up creating something really cool. But if I was just kind of like, I don't know, make some bowls, I would probably not make anything I liked. because I really love working within rules, and that's one of the things that I love about painting. Like I said, that's one of the things that was so helpful for me for painting those eyeshadows. I love being like, whoa, there's a blue and a teal and, you know, like a green yellow duochrome and a pink, and I don't know what to do with this, but I'm wearing them all today. You know, like figuring out what environments you thrive in, I think, is really important. For me, I love the rules, I love the challenges, and I love having to figure out how to work on things together. For you, you might be like, I would be so scared of panning a blue, or just I would hate panning a blue or a black, or, you know, any sort of bright color, or I don't know, anything that you just don't like. Maybe you don't like warm tones. I'm not a huge fan of warm tones. Maybe you don't like cool tones. Maybe those are just gonna ruin your day, and then don't. Just don't. Sometimes that's the other side of the challenge thing. If it doesn't work for you, just don't do it, is my advice. I think it can be really fun to not hate pan something, but like semi-hate pan something, you know, like find something you don't really like and work on it. And a lot of times when you do that, you find a way that you do like it. That's like the lipstick I pan this year. I don't really like that lipstick, but I really enjoyed it when I was panning it. But sometimes you just have to know, you have to figure out where to draw the line. Where is it going to be like a fun challenge? Where is it going to be ruining your mood, ruining your makeup, ruining your day, you know? Yeah. And the last thing I just like to restate, there's no shame in anything. There's no shame in having a big collection. There's no shame in having a tiny collection. There's no shame in panning or being good at panning, whatever that means, or bad at panning or anything. Like, it's just about making your relationship to that collection, to makeup, to buying things, to having things work for you. So like, I think Misty pans, she was saying this a bunch, like she has no shame about her collection, and I love that for her and for everybody. That's just what I want for everybody. Like, it's not about having the biggest collection or the smallest collection or using up the most things. It's about what works for you and what makes your relationship to your collection the most rewarding it can be for you. Because ultimately, makeup is just stuff. You're a full-grown person. You need you need to thrive. The stuff doesn't care. If the thing that's gonna work for you is like decluttering a bunch of it, that's really fine. If the thing that works for you and makes you feel the best is keeping it and using it up very slowly over time until finally you can use up everything, like, go for it. But it's about you as like a living, breathing, growing person. It's not about the stuff. It's not about the other people and what they're doing, you know. Like, it can be easy to compare yourself to other people, obviously. We're tracking. Painting is all about tracking things. It's about, you know, hitting these goals. And so, you know, you can compare really easily, like, oh, this person used up this many eyeshadows and I've only ever used up 2, you know. But that's not what it's about, you know. Everybody's coming from a different place. Everybody wears makeup differently, and like, you deserve to have your relationship with music work for you. The people next door have just started playing music, so I apologize if you can hear that. But that's, I think, all I wanted to share. Hopefully this video isn't too like unstructured. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any tips. I know these were a little bit amorphous. They're not super specific. They're not like how to multitask all of your products, but I hope that you enjoyed this. Yeah, let me know your thoughts, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.